Hey everyone, I wanted to take a minute just to show you a couple quick shortcuts with Google Sheets and with Google Excel. First of all, just to review, here is some data that I might want to make a trend line for. So just really quickly, I'm going to make that trend line. I'm not going to really walk through it and just put the things in here. So my Y range, my X range. It's got labels in the first row. I would like a residual plot and a line fit plot, and I'm going to put the output right here and then hit OK. And it gives me a lot of that information that I wanted. Remember, one of the other things that we typically want is descriptive statistics. So let me also do descriptive statistics of the same group. And I'm going to put the output range right there. It's got labels in the first row. And remember, that gives me just about everything that I need. It has my R, tells me about the correlation, which hopefully you can see in this one isn't very much of a correlation. It gives me my mean, which I would need, as well as my standard deviation. And I got to open this up a little bit to see standard deviation is this one. But those were the main parts of figuring out the line for this plot. And the way that you could figure out like the slope and whatnot is by going in here, right clicking and doing the advanced edit, and then making sure that there was a trend line on, and like I've mentioned before, making the label the equation. I'll even show R squared up there and it'll update it, and it'll show me all of these things as we're taking a look at that. So here is the line. It's not a really great line for this. I also have the residual plot. You remember, it kind of takes that line and shows you all of these points, the blue ones here, shows you how far above and below the line they are. It kind of helps you see the outliers, like these ones are way off, comparatively. These ones are a lot closer to it. But anyway, I want to be able to find some of those things a little bit faster, especially being able to find just the information that I need. And we've done all that before. I'm not going to show you the average, just doing the equals average of whatever, or the standard deviation, which is equals the standard deviation. Those are parts of that. But again, I'm going to just highlight the correlation, finding the R, instead of having to go through all these steps to do it and see like, oh, 0.13, that's not very close to 1. I want to find the correlation, so equals coral. And remember, it has two sets of data. So I want the data set for Y, and I have to put a comma in there and then select the data set for X. It really doesn't matter which order you do the correlation, and it tells you, so there's R. The other thing that I want to know, if you remember, is I want to know the slope of the line and the intercept of the line. So I can do that as well by just hitting equals slope, and it says, oh, I want the data for Y and X. So again, here's Y, here's X, and it tells me the slope is 0.402. If you look down here, you'll notice that matches the slope of the trend line. The intercept I know is about 132. I can just do equals intercept, and again, need data for Y and need data for X. And now it tells me the intercept is 132.45. One other one that just has an extra little thing is actually going to be the linear regression. It does all of it. In both Excel and in Google Sheets, it's very similar. It's going to be this line estimation, so the best fit linear trend versus by using the least squares, which is what we were doing in class. So it wants to know in here, it wants to know what data do you have, Y and X, but it also wants this calculate. And if you look down here, it says calculates the y-intercept if it's true, otherwise it forces it to be 0. The only difference between Excel and Google Sheets is how you put that data in here. So very similar to before. Here is my Y, comma. It wants to know the Y, now it wants to know the X, comma. Now it wants to know whether or not this should be false or true. I want it to calculate the y-intercept, and I don't want to force it to be 0. So I'm just going to type in true and then comma true. So the only difference when I'm doing that with Excel is those things are 1 and 1. So it would be like equals line estimation, whatever it is, B2 to B18, comma A2 to A18, comma, it would be 1, comma 1, and it might actually work in Google Sheets. 1 means true, 0 means false. The only thing I don't like about it, especially in Google Sheets, is it doesn't tell you what these things are. But if you match this with some of the things we had before, you can see here is, in this first one, here is the equation, the intercept, or the slope and the intercept. So I can tell by looking at that it's y equals 0.402x plus 132.45, just using those numbers. So that helps me find the equation. You can look and see what some of these other things are, like in 0.76 and 14. 0.76 ends up being part of the regression. The 14 is the standard error. The 0.018, that's our R-square. The 16.57 is the standard error. These are things that we haven't really gone through at all when you're looking at these, but you can match them up with, it gives you a lot of these other things. But again, so the 3 formulas that we have are the choral formula, so equals choral, and I'll just put an equal sign over here. I don't know if I can put an equal sign over here. So I have equals choral, I have equals slope, I have equals intercept, and I have equals line estimation. And for these ones, you need to put in the variables for y and the variables for x with the comma. Same thing here, same thing here. Whoops. Jump back over that. This one, you need to do y, x, 1, comma 1, which means true, comma true. It wants you to know. The first one is, do you want me to use do you want me to calculate the standard deviation, or not the standard deviation, the y-intercept. But those are a couple of the quick formulas for being able to put in and find these pieces of information, like the actual entire equation, in case that's all you really need, so that you can crunch some numbers, as well as the slope and the y-intercept. You can calculate it by itself. The other thing, and I'm not exactly sure why, but mine by default shows me on these graphs, it shows me these extra points here. The blue, it shows me the calculated part of it, and some of you, it did not have that in there, and I'm not exactly sure why. I don't know what you might have changed. Like if I look in my advanced edit, why it doesn't show you the data points, and I think it might be underneath the series that you have to have the predicted yield turned on. I could turn those off, but it turns off my entire line. So I have to look into that a little bit more as to why mine is actually showing that and yours is not when I make that chart. So if anyone can figure out how you turn those on or off, that would be a great thing to let the rest of us know. So otherwise, that's everything that I've got for this little quick video.